Hey, and welcome back to the next episode of the Right Hand Drive Guys podcast. I'm Bobby. This is Aaron.
Yo.
And we are here, episode 85. We are live from Import Alliance.
Yeah, dude. Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville
Super Speedway.
Yep, 2024. The summer meet is underway, and we're just going to kind of break it down for you. We're gonna give you a little bit of the ins and outs of the event. Maybe you wanted to come this year, but you couldn't. Maybe you've considered it, but you didn't know the deal.
Yeah.
Well, we're here to tell you it's the real deal.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's definitely summer out.
It is summer. I'm sweaty. This is not Maine, for sure. And so I know we kind of covered this last year, but Aaron and I have like a history with Don, the creator of Import Alliance, and the actual event itself.
Yep.
We attended this together many times, from Nashville to Atlanta. I've been to Kentucky Import Alliance, and so it was really important to us to kind of full circle, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And this is actually Aaron's first time returning in how long?
I believe since to the summer meet at the Super Speedway, it's my first time since 2011.
Wow, quick math says that's
Or
13 years.
No, 2010.
2010.
So 14. It's 14 years.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
dude,
So,
I mean, it's pretty crazy that, well, it's not crazy because these dudes kill it, but they're still putting on the show. You know what I mean?
Still putting it on,
all
you
this
know.
time later, you know.
If you think about it, right, how many in these 14 years, and really it's been much longer, but 14 years since you've been,
yeah.
How many things have came up and gone away?
A lot.
A
lot. And, you know, even in some of our friends' lives and stuff, the thing has came and gone too.
Yeah.
But, like, we're all back.
Right,
And
exactly.
we all got these cars, and it's coming full circle again, and it's so cool to be, I don't know, just in the same environment as, like, all these homies from back in the day.
Yep.
You know, 15 years later.
15 years later, everybody has better jobs or kids or a wife or a house, you know, and all these different things. And so, of course, a lot of us had to take a hiatus while we built our lives. And then now, you know, most people have a more of an income, so they're coming back.
Yeah.
Sometimes with the same cars.
Yeah.
Some of these dudes have the
that.
same cars, right? And other people like us have moved on from the cars that we had, and now we have the cars that we enjoy today.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
so, yeah, it's really cool to see. It's cool to walk up to these guys, and it's like not skipping a beat.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, hey, you know.
Right. We ran into Timmy at the gas station, dude, and it was just like, yo, what's up? You know, like no time has
I couldn't
passed,
believe when
dude.
I saw him pulling in. I'm like, no way. Oh, it's Tim. And so we're talking about Tim Schultz, who's a guy who's been in it for, you know, quite a long time, just like us. And he's going to be on the podcast, so definitely look for his episode coming up.
Yeah.
He currently runs a EK9 Civic Type R.
Yeah.
I'm jealous of. I was actually bidding on the same car as he was.
Yeah.
And it went over my bid, and he won it with the next bid.
Ah.
Literally won it with the next bid. And then I see him post it like 3 weeks later, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Like, you were the guy?
Skirt, record scratch.
Yeah, and I was like, damn, okay, I'm actually glad you got that, because that puts him back in the game, and he's here today.
Right.
Yeah, so, all right, so a lot of people not from the South or whatever, like, you know, maybe not from Texas. I know they've had Import Alliance in Texas.
Yeah.
They're like, what is Import Alliance? Like, what do you mean, you know? And so their Instagram claims Import Alliance is the country's biggest car meet.
Yeah.
And we don't know the metrics on how they gauged that.
Right.
But that's basically what it is a huge car meet. It takes over an entire speedway.
Yeah, the whole infill.
Yeah, we are currently at Nashville Super Speedway, and this is actually where the last Import Alliance was that we had went to together.
Yep.
And then they had moved on to other venues, and they came back.
Correct, yeah, because there's a lot of buying and selling history with this venue as well, because it was in limbo for I feel like a very long time. Like
Yeah.
there was nothing happening here.
Right, it was just dead.
Right, but now it seems like in the last 5 years or so, they've really, whoever bought the Super Speedway has put money back into it and is allowing these events to happen again. And
Which is smart.
yeah, very smart.
Because this is doing no damage to the property.
No,
But
no.
it's bringing in revenue,
Yeah.
which when you know, regardless of you're a billionaire and you own this thing, you still need revenue or else it's a
Oh, yeah.
loss. You
Absolutely.
know, and Don actually told me the people who own this own Loudon.
Makes sense, yeah.
So, I mean, that does make sense. And, you know, you wouldn't think, like, there's this group that owns multiple super speedways.
Yeah, yeah.
But there is. And so, yeah, basically, people come from all over the South for this. And it's not just a meet. They have different kind of activities you can do, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So what are some of the different racing style things that you can do here?
So they have the high performance driving experience.
So that's like, you'll see it called HPDE.
Yes, correct.
Yep.
And that's what that stands for, is the high performance driving experience. Pretty much a track day with a car. You know, you're not meant to slide around or nothing like that. It's grip driving.
Yep.
Not really time attack because you're only timing it if you want to.
Right.
In the past, though, they have had time attack here as well, but
Yeah,
not
I
this
remember
year.
that.
Yeah.
Like back in 2011,
It was
like,
either global
they were
or-
ripping.
yeah.
It was global time
Yeah.
attack. Yeah. So, and then so they have drifting,
Yep. Also drifting.
roll
which-
racing.
Yep. Well, roll racing. Yeah. And I'm curious about the roll racing. I'm kind of anxious to see.
I think that's tomorrow.
Oh, okay. That's
Like I
gonna be
think
cool.
that's Saturday. What else do they do?
I see a dyno set up. They definitely
Yeah, that's
have
cool.
dynos.
Yeah.
And you know, there's so many vendors here. I do not remember this many vendors, dude.
Yeah.
Like whether you want artwork for your cars, some cool swag, some gear, like
Yeah.
you can definitely spend some money in this hall. It's
They
kinda
even
crazy.
got Ding Dong Podcast guys.
Yeah.
That's
Shout out to us.
Yeah. And so, right, you got a ton of vendors, of course, right? The dyno, like you said, it's a mobile dyno. You want to see what you can put down, throw it down. Way more food vendors than even last year.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Whole
they
food
got
court.
yeah, they have pretty much a whole food court. And I just had a pulled pork sandwich.
Yeah, I just had some barbecue chicken, dude. It
Yeah.
was dank. You know?
It was. And
Love some barbecue in the South, you know?
those vendors that we saw, there's, which maybe you didn't realize, is way down at the end of all the cars parked, there's
Yeah.
more food vendors.
That's crazy. No, I
Yeah.
didn't realize that. I'm going to have
Yep.
to take a hike.
Yeah, so they're definitely doing a great job here as far as, you know, things to do.
Yeah.
You know, and then, of course, there's a whole infield.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday night, half the track will also be cars, and you can go view these vehicles.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you can,
Up on the bank.
Up on the bank, you know, all through the infield, thousands of cars.
Yeah.
So you can make a night of literally
Yeah.
just looking at cars.
Absolutely. And, like, man, I don't remember it being like this. I remember.
It wasn't.
It wasn't. You know,
Mhm.
things have definitely progressed, and I love to see it.
And you
know?
want to know what was part of that progression, I believe. And Don, I know you listen to the podcast, and I hope you're listening to this. You're a genius, my friend.
Yeah.
This is now at night.
Yes.
This is now at night. So if you were with us about 5 hours ago, this is a cool day in
Yeah.
Tennessee, and I was sweating my face off.
Yeah. I didn't bring enough shirts, dude. I'm sweating through everything.
Yeah, he's rolling through shirts left and right. You got no clue. And so basically, now the event always was traditionally during the day.
Yeah.
You know, it was a day meet, 2 days in a row. And last year, Don said, no, we're going to do it at night. The temps are going to be cooler, and it's a new vibe. It's going to refresh
Yes.
the event. And he was 110% right.
Yeah.
So currently the sun is going down, and it is this event goes from 5 p.m. till 11 p.m.
Yeah.
So you get, that's 6 hours.
Oh, yeah.
That's decent, right? And
Yeah.
so, the sun starts to go down, and you got the lights from the track.
Yeah.
Dude, let me tell you, if you've never been to a super speedway at night, it is like a whole different vibe. Like,
Yeah.
let's just say you've been to an NFL game,
Right.
It's under the lights. It's
Yeah.
those style lights,
Yeah.
like bright, lights. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a different feeling
Right.
being in the center of that.
It's a good vibe.
Yeah, it
I
is.
enjoy it. And I also enjoy being a little bit cooler. You know?
Yeah. And so with that, Don said, okay, we need to kind of make this a vibe in the sense of, you know, we need to take advantage of this night time.
Right.
And so last year he had music. This year he's upgraded it and like has like this huge commercial stereo system because you think this is a super speedway. And again, if you haven't been to a super speedway, it's going to be hard to understand how huge.
Very large. I
Like,
believe this
huge.
track is 2 miles around.
That's crazy.
2 and some change probably.
Think about that.
Yeah, that's so right. If you're walking from end to end, that's dude.
Yeah. Like your high school track was 1/4 mile.
Correct.
This is 2 miles.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean,
at least.
right. And so, you know, again, like very genius move on Don's behalf because now all those people that were like, because you can hear it, you could hear it, dude.
Yeah,
Screw that. It's going to be way too hot.
Yeah.
Is what they said about Import Alliance.
Right.
Because it was, screw that, it was going to be way too hot, right?
yeah, 100%.
And so, yeah, I'm definitely digging this, like you said. And so, as far as the car layout, right, you have a gallery, is what it's called, which is submission-based.
Right.
You submit pictures of your car. You're chosen for the gallery. I couldn't tell you if the ticket's more expensive or not, but you get to park by the pits where all the vendors are.
Yeah.
And so it's a showcase gallery, right?
Yeah.
And so essentially it's supposed to be the best of the best.
Yeah.
Along with inside, the vendors obviously try to bring in the best of the best.
Right. And also in the gallery this year, they have built these pergolas.
Pergolas, yeah.
For a few select cars to park under. And, you know, they have string lighting. And once, I believe once the sun goes down, they light those things up.
It'll be like
That'll
highlighted.
be, that car under those is going to be highlighted. And that's going to be
Yeah.
such a cool shot, man.
That is cool, yeah. And so, you know, we were talking to Don yesterday during setup, and, you know, progression is like a big thing, but it's very hard, right? I mean,
Once you reach a certain point,
Right, at
it's
this
like
scale.
that next step is so much larger.
yeah, it is. And so something as simple as whatever, 4 or 6 pergolas that highlight these certain cars just brings another element as simple as it is, right? That wasn't here last year.
Yeah, when he was saying that to us, I was like,
Yeah,
I couldn't really
I don't
visualize it, but man,
know.
when we pulled up today and there was the cars pulling into him, I'm like,
Oh.
this dude knows what's up. He
Yeah.
knows what he's doing.
He does, and so...
Not that I ever had a doubt, but
Right, no, and that's the thing, you know, I mean, that small progression is what you have to do when you're trying to lead something so large. And so we're recording right now on Friday. Friday is generally the more chill day because everybody's getting out of work. They're probably not coming. Saturday is like something you've never seen. The gates open at 5, and at 9:30 they still have a line of cars out the tunnel. Still have a line of cars out the tunnel at 9:30. Dude, that's 4.5 hours.
yeah.
Like, that's 4.5 hours. You're hard-pressed to find a line for most things lasting 4.5 hours when it comes to a car meet.
Right. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, and so Saturday night will be super bumping, so we said we should probably record this on Friday so that it's not as loud, you know, we can kind of get our voices out there. So what would you say, coming back after 14 years, what like kind of surprised you the most? Like, oh, dang, they're doing that, like, it's like this now?
What surprised me the most? I don't know, kind of how, it's hard to say, because I'm kind of taken back by everything, just like the level of everything.
Well, yeah, after 14 years,
like
you're
after
like,
14
what the
years,
heck?
like it's not. I mean, it's the same spot, but it's not. It's been completely revamped, and like even the garages in here, they've all been remodeled. And
Oh,
like,
yeah.
all the doors are new. Like
the new owners have definitely
Just
reinvested.
how everything is just so fresh and still so nice. It's really like that kind of blew my mind, because like most of these racetracks, dude, once they build them, like there's no maintenance,
Right.
Like, but I mean,
And
that
that's why
sounds
they
weird, but
fall
like the
apart.
bathrooms and everything here are air conditioned and
Yeah,
like
it's
well
crazy.
kept, and like, dude, there's staff running around everywhere. Like that's one thing that kind of blew my mind is like
When we
how-
pulled in, the amount of staff,
the amount of
it
Import
was like,
Alliance staff.
holy moly, dude.
Yeah,
Like-
so many people, dude. Like so many yellow shirts, and I'm
Everywhere.
like, but dude, everyone has their job and everyone knows what they're doing.
And they
dude,
take it serious.
everyone's in a good mood. Like, you know, they're dancing around to the music, waving people into the gallery and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they're standing out in the sun and to the rain. Like,
Yeah.
you know, that's not a good environment. But these dudes are making the most of it. They're psyched. They're seeing the cars. Like, that's kind of what I thought was one of the most impressive things is like how well the staff and everything manages the load.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And how well organized it is, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that they even understand what they're supposed to do because it's all pre-planned.
Especially with so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And so we're talking about it, and you know, we're like, well, what does Don and the guys do when there isn't an event? You know, there's whatever, a few months or a month or however long in between, and what they're doing is logistics.
yeah.
And I think that is a understated part of these events is the logistics, right?
Yeah, getting it all together, getting it all to line up perfectly, and
not
making
having
it all
to
happen.
micromanage, right?
Right,
Like he's
right.
not running around here like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, you need to be doing this. Like
Right.
they all know, like you said, and they're doing it. And I really think there's something to be said about somebody who can pre-plan something
Yeah,
and not have to micromanage it.
yeah,
Um,
that's so cool.
And so when we were talking about, like, you know, whatever, 14 years ago when we were here, and, you know, you were talking about, you're like, well, yeah, even these garages are different, you know, and all that. And really, dude, think back. When we came here, and I don't know, I think this was the 2009 Import Alliance.
Yeah.
Only the front half of this was vendors. This was the actual pits.
Yeah. This was the pits for the time attack.
Yeah. And
I didn't even think about that
yeah,
until you just said
this
that.
was the
It
actual
was.
pits. And so now the pits are outside.
Right, they're on pit lane.
Yeah, and so if you think about it, like they have grown to the point of like kicking the race cars out of the
Yeah.
garage.
Yeah.
Like that's sick. Like they've grown to the point where there's so much demand to be a vendor here
Yeah.
that they can just go ahead and send the race cars outside and fill this.
Right.
And basically, if you've never seen like a pit garage type thing, it's a insanely long garage, right?
Yeah.
Like from one end to the other, like is so long. When we saw it empty yesterday, I was like,
Yeah.
dang, this is like really long.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah, and so there's a lane down the middle, and on your left and right is just full of vendors,
Yeah.
including us. And, you know, some of them have cars, some of them are, you know, just packed it with selling stuff.
Right.
But, like, you can walk up and down this 3 or 4 times, and you're still looking at stuff.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And that's another thing that has grown because even outside there's also vendors, you know, selling
Yeah,
their things.
I was like, what the heck?
holy
Like,
cow.
and those vendors have their own, like, trailers pretty much.
Yeah.
Those vendors are operating, like, independently of the garage.
Right.
And so when you really think about that, that really is like quite impressive, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can fill this, you can fill the outside, not to mention all the food vendors, and like, dude, good on them for having that demand.
Yeah.
You know, and he's at the point that he won't even accept new, like T-shirt and whatever other vendors. Like, if you want to come to Import Alliance, you need to offer something that everybody else isn't at
Right.
this point because. You know, I got to come solo last year. If anybody listening remembers, I was here. I did an interview with the homie Richie, Squirk, you know, and dude, like a lot of these vendors are the same vendors because
Yeah.
they're solidified in Import Alliance now. Like those are, you know, Battle Gang is the T-shirt, you know, whatever vendor, right?
Yeah.
And so he's really narrowed it down so he doesn't have to deal with all of these applications and vetting people.
Right. And
you know.
someone bringing some riffraff in here that
Uh-huh.
doesn't match the vibe that he's
Yeah.
trying to bring. So yeah, that's
And
cool.
so for me, you know, last year and this year, what was like, oh dang, you know, what was like wow for
Yeah.
me was the Import Alliance. I don't know if you've even gotten to really go in it. I haven't yet, but I've got to see it. But the Import Alliance booth,
Yeah.
like they've really kicked it up like a few notches
Yeah.
when it comes to back in the day, the Import Alliance booth was very small.
Yeah.
It was like
had some folding tables.
Yeah, it was a
couple
10 by
pop-ups.
10, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like an experience. And last year it definitely was. Like, you walked into this booth and you felt like you walked into a retail store, literally.
Yeah.
Like, everything is on these racks and with wooden hangers and, like, this whole thing. And I'm just like, wow, like, that's where it's at right there. Like, he isn't just slinging his T-shirts and merch off from the table anymore. He's made it an experience.
Right.
And this year I noticed he added these huge wall-like, stand-up, like, things that really just, like, encapsulate it and make you feel like it's like an
pop-up
experience.
walls.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's totally sick, man. And, like, they've done a very good job at, making that last 5 to 10% to finish it off, right?
Yeah.
That's something we kind of talked about before, whether it's we're working on cars or trying to create something. It's getting that last 10% to, like, just finish things off perfectly. And, like,
that's the hardest.
Dawn and the crew, I feel like they're constantly doing that last 10% at every single one of these and creating, something new, something exciting. And they're not stagnant. And that's why they've been around for as long as they are, because they're not standing still.
Right, they're not. And because complacency is the killer of all things, right? Like, when you create something amazing and then you get complacent, it will die.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think Don and the gang really realize that complacency is the enemy. And so, like we said, just down to those pergolas, right?
Yeah.
Like, down to something so simple as some 2x4 or whatever pergolas.
Yeah.
That's not being complacent, because they just as well could have not done that.
Right.
They could have showed up here without the new booth stuff.
Right.
And people still would have been like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
But now that they did that, they're like, oh, wow.
Right.
And that's
what are they going to do next?
Yes, exactly.
What are they going to do next? Like, that's what I keep asking. Like, dude, you guys have done it all. Like, what are you going to do next? And it's just constantly something new. And that is so cool.
Yeah. And I feel like on that level, right? Like what's next? Like, I wish we could get him on here. I'd really like to ask him that.
Yeah.
I really would. But I'm going to ask him. I'm going to find out. I'm going to ask him. And he might tell me, you know what, dude, I don't know. It's going to come to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not worried about it, because I know it will. And I feel like maybe that's kind of how he rolls. He doesn't put it to the side, but he doesn't force it.
Yeah.
Which I think is key, because if you force it, it's not genuine. If it's not genuine, they walk away too.
Right.
And we're talking about, I can't remember, did he say it's 20 years, Like, I can't remember what he said.
I think it'd be around 20 years
20
now.
years, yeah. No, this is 19, next year's 20.
Oh, okay.
I remember now. We had the phone conversation.
Yeah.
So next year's 20, and we'll be here. We're going to be here. I don't care so we drove 20 hours one way.
Yeah.
20 hours one way. If you follow us on Instagram, you saw the trailer. We have like a cantilever double car trailer, and we packed our booth in the truck.
Yep.
We headed down. We drove 20 hours.
20 hours
for this. And guys are like, well, isn't there an event closer to you?
Yeah.
Not that Don runs.
Right.
Not that all the OGs that, like, helped inspire us to continue being into cars are at.
Yeah, I think there was an event at Loudon this weekend. We drove right past it.
We drove right past it.
Had to come see the homies.
Yes, we had to. And nothing's set in stone or whatever, but I believe potentially next year. So if you're one of our New England listeners, I believe next year Import Alliance will be at Loudon.
Yeah.
And we'll 100% be there.
Oh, yeah.
That's our home territory. Like, we wouldn't miss it for the world. But that gives you guys the opportunity to not drive 20 hours like we did.
Yeah.
Although, like, it's worth it, dude. Like, like we said, it's just Friday. It's just warming up as far as the flow. But it's well worth it to me, besides the actual event, just hanging out with all the dudes.
Right.
But...
And, dude, I mean, there's a lot of people that come here, too, like, that, I don't know, you probably wouldn't expect, like, Nappy Boy Automotive showed up.
Yeah, Hertz here.
He's...
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There are dudes that you wouldn't expect, and honestly, like, we were talking about this, right? Like, Don's strategy is making a really awesome, memorable event. It's not creating a hype event online.
Right. 100%.
Don does not pay social media influencers.
Right.
Don doesn't pay YouTube personalities
Right.
to show up at this event and
truly organic
and create clout, right? He knows that if he creates a great experience, the people are going to come. And eventually, these social media people, YouTubers or whatever, are going to be asking him to come. So I think that that's a great strategy, because I do believe that too many organizations are chasing clout.
Yeah.
You know, they're not, like, literally, if you're on a computer, Google Import Alliance Summer Meet 2024, the logo is going to come up.
Yeah.
You know what the logo says? You know what the slogan is?
What is it?
For the people.
For the people.
And I think,
believe it.
Yeah, I do. And I think that is not just a slogan. I believe that that's how they operate, right? Like, for the people, you know? And so, yeah, I mean, this is a great event. I don't think where we're from, I don't think you could even find anything like this.
It's hard pressed to.
Yeah.
I mean, and one last thing about, like, how Import Alliance is set up. You know, a lot of people say car show, a car show, right?
Yeah.
Car shows give out trophies.
Yeah.
Right? There's judging. There's, like, kind of some pretentiousness that comes with it. Like, car shows are cool, but, like, they're a competition type thing. This is a car meet.
Yeah.
And I think that alone changes the whole vibe of everything, because no one's, like,
there's
no
no
one's
competition.
pulling their hair out because they scratched their lip on the way in or nothing.
Yep.
They're like, oh, yeah, hit a bump, you know?
Yeah,
but, like,
yeah.
you know, it's not about, like, a competition. It's about a hangout, the homies.
Right.
It's about, that's what it's about.
It's about, and meeting new people, right?
Yeah.
Like what we were talking about, you know, I'm following a guy on Instagram with a 33 with a bunch of 400 art parts on it.
Yeah.
I'm walking around the gallery, and I assume that this guy was, it's Ohana_GTR on Instagram. And, of course, the Ohana, and then the pictures that he's posting.
Yeah.
I'm thinking this dude's in Hawaii. Like, my whole life, I feel like, I thought this dude was from Hawaii.
Yeah.
And he's actually from Tennessee.
Yeah.
And he's here.
And he pulled right up.
And I'm like, damn, like, you know, and so it's kind of one of those things where he's not here because he's going to get the best GTR trophy.
Right, no.
He's here because he wants to meet dudes like us.
Right.
He just wants to kind of enjoy his vehicle, let other people admire it.
Yeah.
And then go home.
Yeah, I got to go check that thing out for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful car. He's definitely put a lot into it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, we just figured, we're like, hey, you know, we got a few interviews lined up. That could have been good enough, but we just really wanted to show Import Alliance, Don, the crew, like, our appreciation, and then also give you a rundown of what you could expect, you know? And we hardly scratch the surface. If, you know, this is one of the limitations of podcasts. We're at the booth, we're at the table. We can't walk around and describe this to you for the most part.
Right.
I'd be like holding like a roadcaster in one hand, my computer in the other. I'd have the microphone clipped to my back,
on the Moto Compacto.
On the Moto Compacto. So, but I think you get the drift. Like, this is an event worth traveling for.
Yeah.
And again, it's organic, it's genuine. There's no one here talking shit to each other. There's no one here better than anyone. Like, dude, the booth behind us has exotic cars I can't even name to you. I don't even know what they are.
Yeah.
They're like $1 million car, and they're next to a Honda.
Yeah, 100%.
And that is the beauty of it, dude.
Right.
You have $1 million car next to a $10,000 car,
yeah.
and those dudes are chatting it up.
Yeah.
Like, and I really feel like that does speak to the vibe that Don's created.
Yeah.
You know, and the rest of the crew, of course. But, all right. So if you're interested in Import Alliance, you want to know what's going on, you want to come tomorrow, like, yo, come on Saturday. If you're around, come on Saturday.
Yeah.
ImportAlliance.org is where you can purchase your tickets. You can find them at Import Alliance on Instagram. Yeah. They got a YouTube. Yeah, I mean, but otherwise, like, look for the coverage afterwards. Check out our Instagram at RHDGUIS. We'll be posting up, you know, just different videos and pictures.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, we're going to have some live from IA interviews coming up.
Yeah. So
definitely keep an eye out for that. Maybe we'll drop, like, a extra episode in the next couple weeks just to get those out there. Like I said, we got Tim Schultz and a few other guys coming on, so I'm definitely excited about that.
Hell yeah. Can't wait for that one.
Yeah, but again, guys, if you want some merch, if you want to check out past episodes, rhdguis.com. But for episode 85, I'm Bobby. This is Aaron.
See ya.
Peace.